Welcome back to the show. ODM Elections tomorrow is D-Day. It has been a month of lots of campaigns, heated conversations, some talking about the expansion or increase of slots in leadership. And of course, recently we've also had about the question of how will the delegates vote? Will it be by acclamation? Will it be by secret ballot? And there seems to have been some clarity of what the Secretary General, outgoing Secretary General Anyang Nyong'o said yesterday. But it's a conversation we want to have this morning, and I'm joined in the studio by Abdullahi Mohamed, I beg your pardon, Dirie, who's MP Wajir South, and of course Ngunjiri Wambugu continues to stay with us for this conversation. Karibu sana and good morning. Let's begin with what position you're vying for.
Deputy Treasurer.
Deputy Treasurer?
Yes.
Okay, and how many people are in that particular?
We have up to 5 people.
5?
Yeah.
So how have you been going about your campaigns?
I have not been very loud about it, but I have been reaching to the delegates, county by county.
Right.
So we met the delegates from my county, the delegates from Garissa, from delegates from Bungoma, and meet at least the delegates and tell them to elect me, tell them what we'll do for them and what we have for them. So we have not been very loud, but at least we have been reaching to the delegates. And I think it was a strategy that will help us win this deputy treasurer position.
Okay. Let's talk about the party as a whole, Ngunjiri. For watching what has happened for the past 1 month, there's been quite a lot. And, you know, from whether there are people who have been forced to step aside, locked out, to whether SecGen should be a prison of the people, politicians from Nyanza, to the increase in the number of slots, through secret ballot or acclamation. What does all this say to you about ODM, the party?
Straight out, my reaction to that would be that ODM as a party has been struggling to re-engineer itself, trying to find its space, trying to fit after what happened in March 14th, where I was quite involved in running that in that campaign, and I know that losing that campaign destabilized the party considerably, and there was a lot of recriminations, pointing of fingers to people, especially, for example, the current Secretary General Anyang Nyong'o had a lot of people blaming him and saying that it's his fault. While I could actually stand here and in his defense say that for a party as popular as ODM is, especially in some parts of this country, he did an extremely exemplary job in just managing, because you need a very firm hand to be a Secretary General, because you're managing, you're like a chief executive officer of the party, you're managing it. So there was a lot of pointing of fingers, and what we are now seeing is trying to sort that out and say, okay, how do we re-engineer ourselves and make sure that the things that happened in 2013 don't happen in 2017? How does a party become a better model? And the advantage they have, of course, there's going to be a fallout, absolutely, after these elections. But then it's early enough for it to be managed before 2017. Parties, because a lot of parties will need to do this. We hear TNA's elections need to happen in 2017. That is a really bad time to be having elections, because inter-party elections, because you're supposed to be preparing for the general elections. So what ODM has done is certainly very difficult. It's going to be hard on the party. It's going to strain a lot of relationships in the party, but it gives the party enough time to recover and reorganize itself. This whole idea of creating more spaces, which I completely disagree with myself, it doesn't make sense to create more parties, more seats in a party just to accommodate more people, because the last time that happened was for Ruto and Musalia, and we know how that happened. So there needs to be some institutional memory to tell you, like, okay, it doesn't work.
Been there, done
that, didn't work. But of course, the reasoning behind that was, we don't want to have people walking away. We don't want to have a massive fallout. We want to say, if you guys want to run for Secretary General and you're 2 of you, can you guys come to
deputize this
just one? Figure out how to agree and then just, you know,
settle in there.
But of course, that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I think there's been a lot of effort, especially from the Ababu side of this. Now we look like we have two
very clear-cut camps.
And one camp has been very clear. we do not believe that any additional seats should be done. And for them, it's because they want to protect you want to become a deputy party leader or chairman with full authority, not split with the guy who was competing with you, you know. And I can see the point they're making. Of course, there's another side that's saying, no, let's accommodate everybody. Let's create space for everybody. So each of them is running on good motive, but if they're going to run this, I mean, they have enough time to manage the fallout. I think they just need to stay with the numbers.
But MP, the same question to you, having watched this as the race intensified. It's now the elections are tomorrow. Being an insider, part of the party, these are your colleagues. What do you make of what ODM has, the picture it has painted to the country in the last several weeks?
Yeah, I think first, what has been happening is very important. And you see, because of the tyranny and numbers and ODM lost elections, over the last 2 months now, ODM is in the news. So I think, and you don't hear more often this from other parties. So it means ODM is a strong party, it's a party to watch, and actually grabs headlines. And I'm sure after the election, ODM will emerge stronger and become, you know, the party to grab power in 2017. And these positions being created, the various positions, I also personally don't support, and many of the party MPs honestly don't support a lot of positions. I'm vying for a position myself. I better lose it. It's not necessarily must that you know, somebody gets position or Secretary General or Deputy Secretary General or Treasurer or Chairman. You better have lean people there who are responsible, who you can hold them responsible and take them to task if they fail. So these many positions created, I think, is a waste of time and should not. We don't support it. It's actually going to do a lot of bad things, and then, you know, disfavor to the party. But again, the issue of you know, then people having different camps and this camp sometimes, and whether to hold the elections or whether to do consensus, I think all of them have merits and demerits. Because personally, coming from Wajir County, you know, a county that voted out of the 6 MPs, 5 are ODM, plus women rep, plus governor, plus senator, were entirely in ODM. You see, and we cannot say if that region, to be, for example, cost to be given Secretary General, we can also stand up and say this must be given to us. So you see, this issue of certain region taking something should not arise. You should put people there based on their merits, and they must be elections, so that, you know, at least, otherwise there's no point of you know, holding, you know, party elections, which is so much exercise, that so much, you know, tedious, right? And even people later on, you just handpick them. It becomes, you know, it doesn't have much, it doesn't add much value to the party. So I think people should go for elections. They should compete. Whoever loses loses. Whoever wins wins. And they should only compete on this lean, you know, team to come to office.
Watching Anyang Nyong'o in an interview right here the day before yesterday, talking about the ODM elections, he was still very open, and the party, speaking for the party, was still very open to the opening of still increasing the number of slots and to the acclamation. But yesterday, page 5 in the Nation Today, ODM backtracks on new party slots and also maintains that the polls will be secret ballot. What do you think led to that? Because certain voices were for, certain were against. For them to have finally boiled down to it's going to be secret ballot, it's going to be as well, they're not going to increase the number of slots. What do you think led to that? This intra-party competition is pure politics. Yeah. And what happens is that either every person who is in this competition takes a position and pushes it. And what we have seen is a situation where, I remember when the discussion about the election started, Ababu actually looked like a weak candidate. When you looked at the people who had been saying they're going to go for Secretary General, Ababu, yes, people respected him and all, but he was somewhere, you know, people are not even sure that he was actually going to go all the way to the ballot. And he kept insisting, I'm going to go all the way to the ballot. And what he has done is picked a couple of issues and built on them. I remember watching him yesterday, and he was saying Siri, you know, he was getting people he was talking to delegates and actually having them chant out Siri in terms of secret ballot. He has first created an extremely independent and powerful team.
vis-a-vis, when you look at Governor Nanok, who's going for chairman, when you look at Joho, who's going for deputy party leader, and you look at Ababu, these are people who, if I belong to the status quo in ODM, I'd be very scared because you can't push them around. So you can feel, and they have now picked up 2 or 3 issues and made them and said, look, we're not going to do acclamation, we're not going to expand positions, and if we are going to ask for fair elections. If they're not fair, there's going to be consequences. Now, when you draw a line like that, and you have powerful people like those drawing that line, you can't play around with this. So what we are seeing the party doing is actually having to accept that some of its candidates are powerful enough. I remember reading about the former Prime Minister being very clear that he cannot afford to lose Ababu.
Yes.
You know, and we all remember. We all have seen Ababu over the years. I remember him in 2007, and the whole drama in Parliament during the swearing-in, immediately after the elections. This is a guy who goes. You might not like what he does,
but he'll go.
But you'll notice him.
Yeah.
You know, he makes a point, and you get to notice it. So, what has happened to the party? Because Anyang Nyong was also very clear to say that people are speaking many things out there.
Yeah.
But I am the only one who is speaking for the party. And what he's saying is that the party has recognized positions of certain people and realized that these are irreducible minimum positions, and they're willing to make amends. But also, he really cannot say that it will be secret ballot, because the first thing delegates will do tomorrow is decide how they are going to vote.
Okay.
So he can say that the party prefers for secret ballot, but if delegates walk in tomorrow and by some reason decide they want acclamation, there's very little that he can do about it.
Is it known which position the former Prime Minister favors?
He has been careful, it's been for good reason.
Okay.
We this morning, as I was walking in, and I found the news of Nanok saying, look, that guy needs to step aside. He needs to stand aside, because he's a candidate. We will vote for him, but he cannot. And of course, his position is nearly unchallenged. So it is not in his favor to take positions.
Even the person challenging him might vote for him.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, so there's really he doesn't have, of course he would want to know the people he's having, and you'd want to create a team that is amiable to him, but the whole party more or less is going to work with him. So he's reached a point where he can't afford to take a position in this one.
MP, we have here no one but Ababu Orengo tells ODM, and in as far as what Ngunjiri has said, we had the outgoing secretary talking about it will be secret ballot. It will be up to the delegates. But we're still hearing proclamations from other members saying, no, acclamation is the way to go, is what we would like. Where do you lie in that conversation?
I think most of us will go for secret voting. Because even as right now when you're asking Ngunjiri about what forced it to, to backtrack and say that it's going to be secret and it's going to be,
no increasing slots.
Increasing slots. It's because of the demands by the party, MPs and the party members. Because most of us, silently, we're saying we don't want, slots to be increased, and we want elections to be held.
Right.
So because this issue of creating, more slots and also trying to, do acclamation, if that's going to be done, why did you have to go all this? Why don't Raila sit somewhere and he starts writing people, chairman, but leader this, if you're going to do acclamation? So I think it's better than the election, and that's what you're.
But there's been said there's a list somewhere. You don't think there is one?
No, I think
of preferred people.
I think that's just the creation of the media. Here, people.
I like how everyone blames the media after this, because we're not the ones who make those claims. They come from other politicians. We report.
But the party leader has denied this on several occasions. There's no preferred list.
Of course, he wouldn't then again say there is.
I personally would think there most probably was a preferred list, and I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing, because even if you ask Mheshimiwa here, he will tell you the people he would prefer to be in certain positions to work with him. So what tends to happen is that if you asked the party leader, freely off the record, and you asked him, look, you tell me
Who
would you want in each of these positions? He most probably has,
of course,
in every one of the groups.
Because he will vote.
He's the guy I would vote. Yeah, because he will vote.
But that is going to exercise on the voting day.
Yeah, that's his.
Yes,
yeah.
but you see, that is
just
his.
to outline that he has, of course, an opinion.
What tends to happen is that then you assume that his preferences now become a preferred list.
Okay.
And the reason it becomes a preferred list is because everybody assumes he's got a lot more influence. And of course, if you stood up today, in a rally and said, "Me, I want so and so, so and so, so and so, so and so, and so and so,"
would happen.
Despite the fact that he only has one vote, despite the fact that it would get reactions, that would now become, oh, that is Raila's preferred list. So the issue about a preferred list is most probably a non-issue. It's just that it has now been used. What happens politically is that if you know you're going to face resistance, you make that your campaign issue and you say, no, I am not in the preferred list, but I am the better candidate and we want independence and we want. So it became a political issue.
Yeah.
But of course, there must have been a preferred, even within the party secretariat, they choose between the people and say, you know what, I pray so and so is the one who gets in, because so and so is going to be difficult.
I think that's not the preferred list the media is between. You know, the issue you're saying is whom would you like to vote for? Like personally, I might vote for something. Even Simba Arati is the party leader, and I might vote for Simba Arati as the party leader. So you see, that is going to be the personal opinion on who you are going to vote. This preferred list, we are being told every time, is being prepared somewhere, and Raila is pushing for it. So that's what we are doubting, that it doesn't exist properly.
Okay.
If his personal opinion is to elect me as the deputy treasurer, is that a preferred list? That's not a preferred list, isn't it? That's just his personal opinion.
Which camp do you support? The Babu-led one or Zani?
That one is going to be, I will say later, but I'm going to say it. You know, I'm a proponent of secret ballot, so I'm going to say that when voting.
You're not an acclamation person.
I'm not an acclamation person.
But what do you make out of the kind of debate and conversations that have been emanated from the two? Because for Ababu, those supporting him have said he's been around longer, he has experience, he should be the one to get this. Zani insists she's the person for the job, she can do it. Some have said she has the blessing of the party leader, but of course others have argued she's a newcomer. It's a very important position. What do you think?
I think that tag of she has the blessing and favorite for Raila must have done a lot of bad to her. And you never know who has engineered that, because that has really dented Zani. But of course, both can be good. Zani comes from the coast region. She's gender balanced well, and she of course can make. But Ababu on the other side, everybody knows, and many people like him. He stands for issues. He can make a good Secretary General. He is people don't normally like the establishment. He is not in the establishment. He is independent mind, and you never know. Let's just wait tomorrow.
I like that you're making sure you remain in the middle.
See, he's running for office, and he most probably needs he will need votes from people who support either side.
Right.
For me, I'm not running for office. So me, I'm able to say I would go for the Ababu team completely. Why? And for my reasons, I've worked with Joho, I've worked with Nanok, I've worked with Ababu, and I know what they bring into the party.
Right.
Ababu is a new generation. He's got a lot of experience. Honestly, having spent time working with Anyang in the last election and watching what happens, especially at election time, from the nominations to the actual managing of the general election, you cannot have a Secretary General of a party like ODM who does not have experience of elections. It would be a disservice to the party, because you must have. There's some things that you learn from an experience. I've had a lot of members of parliament saying, you never know how election goes. You can watch it, you can advise on it, until you participate in it. And you see, so that is one of Zani's biggest weaknesses, that he actually has not participated in a general election. Ababu has been in two. He's gone through a court appeal process for his win. So he knows what to look out for in terms of defending the party. For me, my vote for him has nothing to do with, it has everything to do with my vote for him goes to what he brings to the table. And I have nothing against Zani. I wish it was possible for her to be his deputy SG if they were able to do a team like that. But hey,
Okay, let's talk about the party leader position for a while. And the Star, of course, today the headline, I don't have to be president. That's what Raila says. First, with what the ODM constitution says, that the person who's a party leader automatically is the presidential candidate. Break down that for us. If then he says he's vying for that position and says he doesn't have to be president.
Pardon, reverse that?
I'm saying your constitution as ODM indicates that the party leader automatically becomes the presidential candidate. And we heard him say, the headline today in the Star, that he doesn't have to be president. Yes.
Yeah, I think the issue of him running for president come 2017 is his own personal choice. But I'm sure many Kenyans want that he runs for president. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that up to now, he has a very good chances of becoming a president. And the issue of him being party leader right now is not automatic. We don't know if he'll be the party leader because he has an opponent. Do you know that?
Okay.
Yeah, it's not automatic. You might wonder that Raila might not win the party leader because it might be most MPs might
really?
Yeah, it's a big thing. You never know. Yes.
Even you are just laughing and smiling at that one. But in the event he does win tomorrow's election against Simba and becomes the party leader, that, according to your constitution, automatically makes him your candidate for president to 2017.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So will there be a change in constitution if he says he doesn't have to be?
You see, what happens is being a presidential candidate doesn't make you president.
Yes. But the candidate
for
the party.
Yes. You see, because I watched the interview that Star is quoting.
Yes.
His interview he had on Citizen. And what he said is that he doesn't participate in politics to be president. That doesn't mean that he wouldn't want to be president. But I think he's smart enough as a politician to realize that you don't start talking about being president 4 years before an election. Number two, he's got steps that he needs to move. One, he actually does need to get the blessing of the party tomorrow to be the official party leader of ODM till the next election that begins. Number two, he's got to build up the party or lead the party to the point where it is powerful enough in 2017 to actually make to be a front runner in terms of him being the candidate. Remember, ODM is part of a coalition. This coalition has Wiper, it has Ford Kenya.
Right.
Each of these parties have party leaders who also, by constitution, are the preferred, become the automatic presidential candidates of their parties. Now, at some point, the three of them will need to sit down and agree who is best positioned to be president. And that is an assumption code will still be. Well, so far what we are hearing from all of them is that it is going to stay. Okay. So I also, it's certainly going to be a challenge. But if we work on the assumption of what we have right now, and that they're going to be all of them, the three of them together, then two of those party leaders will have to take a decision not to run. There's no reason why. I mean, it could actually be Raila who decides, no, I'm not running this year, I'm going to support Wetangula, I'm going to support Kalonzo. So he's at the point where he needs to build his party to the position where Ford Kenya and Wiper, like happened in 2013, say, okay, if we are to measure ourselves, ODM is slightly ahead of the others, and Raila is ahead of the pack. And actually, he needs to get back to that position. Masame Machuka is tweeting and saying the clause was amended in 2012 when Mudavadi wanted to run against Raila. So party leader, he says, is not a direct... it can be challenged. It can be challenged. You can be challenged for presidential candidate. Okay. Presidential candidate. Having Simba vying as well for the position, was he planted, do you think, to present a picture of democracy, that he's being challenged in an election? Because he's a party leader who we all know is with the party and with his political career spanning very many years, has built quite some clout, very popular. Was that really just to paint a picture that is not really the case?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's...
Why should somebody paint that? So I think...
That perhaps it was even Raila himself.
No, I don't think so. That must be... Simba Arati is a young, capable guy. And as I said, I want to repeat again, some of us might vote him, and many people might vote him, and he might win. Maybe surprise, maybe some shock. He doesn't need to be planted by anybody, I don't think. And and that might be... Because this is positions, they are all advertised in the papers. Even me, I could submit my papers and campaign. So winning or not winning, being strong candidate or not strong candidate, I think it's a different story. But I don't think it was planted by anybody.
It was not stage managed.
Yeah.
I don't think it was. Anybody who knows Simba Arati, and I know him also because I got a chance to work with him, knows it's very hard to plant Simba Arati into anything. And Simba Arati's history is when he was councillor. You know, he was a councillor before in the Nairobi City Council. And when there was a problem with Majiwa, and every ODM came up with a lineup of who was going to be the next takeover as mayor. It was Aladwa. Simba became a serious problem because he wanted to be mayor, and he went flat out from the mayorship until he now got to the position where he had to be sat down and talked to because he was going to split the vote. So what Simba does is, and I think what Simba saw is an opportunity to build his own political profile, because it's always going to be remembered.
Yeah.
This is the guy who ran against Raila Odinga. Whether or not, as he says, whether or not he's got the strength to actually topple him is something else. And sometimes you actually run for a big position to prepare yourself. There's always been, politically, you can decide, you know what, I might not be ready right now. You never know. Something could happen. For example, and God forbid, if anything happened and we didn't have a party leader, we didn't have the party leader we have, you know, you'd have to start looking at the ones who had run against him. Automatically, you have to pick up. Now, if you find it's only Simba, so Simba becomes a front runner.
No, I know it's going to be a close shave.
Okay.
You don't be surprised.
Yeah, it's going to be close, I can tell you.
Yeah?
I don't think it's going to be close. I don't agree with him it's going to be close. But I think what Simba has done is strategic. He's positioned himself
to get his name out there.
Yes, and it's gone. And see, we're talking about him.
Yes, we are.
We're not talking about anybody else here in terms of that particular position.
The dynamics of the leadership in terms of age and who is forming the leadership of ODM. TNA, comparing the two, has quite the younger generation going in there. With the ODM ahead, as you know, gathered momentum to the elections tomorrow, we saw quite a number of people drop out. Those who expected to vie for various positions saying they won't. And so there's also been those saying the old guard needs to step aside and the young tax to come in and re-energize the party and give it that much needed, perhaps, vibrance and change. Do you think the matrix coming out of this election, going by who is vying, will be that winning solution for ODM?
Yes, I think so. And I think I agree that I support most of these people who are saying that we need young blood, fresh, to take up ODM. Because sometimes, and I think what should be commended, or I mean, Anyang' Nyong'o, what he did should be commended, you know, for calling it a day and living. And I think when you re-energize the party with fresh minds, Zani is young, Ababu on this side is young, so Simba Arati is very young, I'm young. So I think it's going to add a lot of fresh blood, inject new blood, and this might re-energize the party.
That's assuming if all those people you've mentioned win.
No, many of the people who actually are running,
the
competition is between young people. You don't have, apart from party leader,
we do have a few older.
We don't have a few, but we also don't think those few will win. So I can tell you that it will be running between young people. So,
young people.
And I think that will do a lot of favor to the party, and that will re-energize the party for it to win and to get more support.
Changing colors, having majority of the leadership as young, you think it's going to be a good one?
It's going to be a good one, and I think also it's going to be extremely good for the party leader. I'm assuming that Raila is going to win this thing. And it's going to be good for him to sit around the table with, if you could have, you see there are 26 leaders in ODM. If it was possible for him to have 20 brand new blood walking into that party and maybe meeting another 5 plus himself who have institutional memory, what's going to happen is that you're going to have a party. You see, the guys who've been with ODM for the last close to 8 years that has been around, because it's been like the same team. You've run 2 elections and lost. It doesn't matter for what reasons. You do need to allow other people to come in with new ideas and say, this, maybe why don't we try this, why don't we try this? So it's going to be new in many ways. Even for the party leader, it's going to be new because this is a group of people who are working in their own strength at the prime of their political careers. So they're not going to be part of the problem I had with the conversation about somebody from Nyanza taking over Secretary General is that it is so easy to manipulate somebody from Nyanza as Secretary General, because that person must do what the party leader wants. If that person doesn't do what the party leader wants, you will lose your seat in Nyanza. But you see now, if you have somebody from the coast or somebody from Western, the influence over your primary electorate is not as high as it was for Anyang Nyong. Maybe there's some things that Anyang Nyong wanted to do different, but he knew if I try, and the party leader says no, and I insist, hata mimi mwenyewe sitaingia hiyo bunge. So it becomes a situation where you now have young people. Nanok, you can't influence. It's going to be very difficult for Raila to influence Nanok's primary constituency in Turkana, or Johos in Mombasa,
right,
or even Ababus in Western. So what happens is that now when these people speak, they will speak without fear that if I don't toe the line, something is going to happen to me locally. Okay. And that is going to be good for the party.
The conversation about the increasing the number of slots was said to have come up because to help mitigate the fallout for the poll losers. There will be people who will lose. So do you see that fallout still happening? People disgruntled, saying, wanting to leave, bringing a mess in ODM?
Yes, there's nothing wrong with it, I think. Let there be fallout. There's enough time to regain. So what's wrong with that? Those who want to stay with ODM and want to continue building this country and be part of it, continue being part of it, whether they lose or gain. And those who, after the fallout, will go away, there's no problem in them going out. But of course, you expect, some fallout. Although not major. I don't think there's a major fallout because most of the people who are running are now MPs, even if there's a fallout. Considering the political parties act, where do you go? Until 2017, you have to be here. There's very little you can do about it, and we have a lot of time between now and 2017.
Okay, you share the same sentiment?
I think so. Yeah. I think there's going to be a bit of a fallout, but I'm also of the opinion that even if some people become upset, they will not be leaving on Monday. What's going to happen is that now you're going to have a situation where, you remember what happened in ODM with William Ruto, where for a whole year and a half, he was in ODM, but he was a major problem to ODM.
Yes. Because
it's very difficult to put, you can't push somebody out. He has to wake up one day and say, I've left. But he can stay in that party and become a challenge. Because I lost, especially if somebody fails, and this is going to be the challenge to the elections board. If anybody loses this election and feels like he lost it unfairly, that person is going to be a problem to ODM, especially if he's a person of the caliber of the Ababus and the Johos and the Nanoks, or even people like the governor, Okina Paranya or Akina Kajwang.
Yes.
What's going to happen? Though there's some people who can, again, the Nyanza effect is going to come into play here, because there's only so much noise you can make as long as Raila is a party leader and you come from Nyanza. But there's some places, if you have a problem and you feel that you lost the election, even Mheshimiwa here, if he was to lose that election by some weird way, he's going to start becoming a problem. Because he's going to feel, so I don't have a position, I don't have a place in this party. And you will start seeing realignments happening, as we started fearing with the younger MPs from Nyanza when they were all told to take a back seat. So you start seeing realignments that come to harm the party at the last minute, when now they start walking away.
Then there's a poll that was conducted by Sinovet. Results are on page 4. Opinion poll shows most Kenyans want fair ODM elections. And then in terms of the most popular party, ODM, edging out TNA with 2% at 30%, TNA at 28%. There was a poll recently as well,
which was the other way around.
Which was the other way around. TNA was in the lead, ODM was following up. What do you think about this poll?
I completely accept the poll. I think it's the reality. All of us know. Because TNO is just a party that came during the elections. And,
but 2% is very little.
Well, even that one, we can say it's the advantage that comes with the president party, and many people would like to join the government. But otherwise, please, for heaven's sake, you can't compare TNA and ODM. These are completely...
How
ODM,
so?
How?
How different are they? How so?
I mean, ODM is a party that has been existing for almost the last 10 years.
9 years now.
It is, gone to two, elections, have gone upheavals up and down, and has stood for issues, campaigned on them right from the Chungwa, the referendum time, enjoys, support.
How come you would say, being around for that long, understanding the game and all, still hasn't managed to win any of the elections.
It's not must to win elections. You can even ODM. Actually, I'm of the opinion that ODM can decide not to win elections forever, and they just stand for key issues that affect Kenyans and advocate for them, like the human rights and.
But have we seen that? Because that's the biggest question in terms even of just keeping the government in check, and the leaders have admitted they've not done very well. So even in terms of just playing that role, as you said, they perhaps should do, they're not doing so
exactly,
well.
And that's an area that we need to improve of, and try to do the best. But I think being there for 10 years and didn't win elections is not anything. You can stay there for 20 years, not win elections, and you can start winning on the maybe 25th year.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I agree with him. There have been parties in the West, in Europe, in Britain, Labour Party, there's a time I think they were out of government for close to 30 years.
Yes.
Democrats were the time they were out, because you just need to lose 3 elections to make 20 years out of government. Yeah. I think what ODM must concentrate on, and we also must give credit where it's due. I don't know any other party that has done 2 general elections and 2 inter-party elections.
Right.
ODM has done this. ODM has had 2 elections of itself and been part of 2 general elections. The fact that they still survive and even be able to challenge the government party in terms of popularity is a big one. Is a big one. Whether or not they're leading or they're being led, as long as the difference is 3, 4, 5%, it's then ODM is doing very well, because they're out of office. They're struggling against an extremely powerful government political system. Remember, tyranny of numbers is completely against them. So for them to just stay relevant to the point where people can still say, you know what, this is a party I support. When you're out of government, you don't have the numbers to make proper changes in government. They're doing well. I think what ODM has failed to do, and I think the ODM has focused so much on winning the next election that they forget that by the time we get to 2017, people will have decided whether they're going to vote for them or not based on what happens between now and then. In terms of how do you challenge the kind of excesses we're seeing in government? How do you represent the people's voice? If they don't do that, they have no hope of winning the next election. If everything we hear from ODM is that we're going to win 2017, we're going to win 2017. If that is what we hear every day, they're not going to. I can tell them for free. They will not win the election.
Because the question becomes, it's either you're talking about 2017 or you're talking about now. Last year's election where you feel you were, rigged out, that you should have won.
That has been a problem. Yeah, that has been a problem with ODM. They're focusing too much on past election and the next one.
No, but that we forget. No, I think focusing on last election is very important, and ODM must win. On the last election, I personally don't. Maybe 2012 ODM was rigged, maybe, or many of us honestly don't believe ODM was rigged out in 2013. You see, but again,
you believe you lost last year.
I believe honestly that ODM lost last. COD lost. Raila even lost presidential election in last election, fair and square. Right. Maybe 2007. 2007. That one can be challenged. Yeah. But sometimes it's not must. In my people, it's not where I come from, where people are struggling with water issues and poverty. But it's not must. Somebody wins election, and sometimes some of us, it hurts us when even within COD we hear that we lost election, it was rigged, us, we were cheated. We need to move, to
but it's your party leadership that is.
Well, that's his personal opinion. Some
narrative.
of us look.
He's the party leader. It is taken as the party position. As the leader, it's like President Uhuru Kenyatta saying something, so that's Uhuru Kenyatta is not the president of Kenya.
And I think that's the problem. That's why sometimes something happens and they lose, they're not winning, and all the questions you're asking. Because sometimes is the party rank and file don't believe the opinion you have it. Yet to keep pushing the same opinion. Okay. You see, like in my county, ODM, actually we did more favor for ODM by coming to ODM, because in some other parts of Kenya, you must be in that party for you to be elected. Central, TNA, you must be in URP from Rift Valley. But in our party, we can even vie on very small parties, easy kwa sisi. And it's not because of the party you are that you are elected, is because of that community and what is the political interest they have decided to go. So you see, I have actually, like somebody like me, I brought I've brought an extra MP by coming to ODM.
To ODM. If you had to sit with Raila Odinga today, you'd tell him stop focusing too much on the past,
Yes.
too much on perhaps a little bit on the future. What would you tell him?
I'm
As far as the question of elections is concerned.
I think that is my opinion.
That?
Maybe even I'll not tell him that. My opinion is not must Raila Odinga become the president. You know, the fact that ODM is here, I mean, CORD is here as an opposition party checking on the government. Kenyans are getting what they want because they want government and then being checked by opposition. It will have been more worse today if there was no. Can you imagine today if there was no CORD? It would have been more worse.
So you see,
would it have?
I agree with him completely.
If there was no,
Okay.
So even if people are saying now the tightening of numbers and CORD is not doing the opposition, I think that's a bit unfair.
But what
to the
needs
party
to be done to strengthen that opposition as the minority? Yes, there's a tightening of numbers question, but surely they can be aware that even they, on the strength of whatever issues they stand for, can appeal to the other side. That we as a country can move from partisan politics so that CORD then becomes that strong party, like we've seen other parties in other democracies. It's not just about elections today, tomorrow, and the day after.
I think for me, my disappointment in CORD, generally ODM specifically, has been that focus, the focusing on the elections. What it has done, it has made things, you see, those things we're looking at in the standard. The 6 issues, judiciary being bombarded, we have NGOs getting hammered, we have the media getting hammered. I think, and I'm hoping that with the new party leadership coming in from tomorrow, we're going to see a refocus, because Kenyans have short, Kenyans are thinking, as he said, he comes from a place where you're thinking about water, you're thinking about what you're going to eat today, how you're going to pay school fees for your kid this month, or next month, or this term. And you're telling me about 2017, 2018, and 2013, and 2007. And I remember something that Ocampo, when this very famous Netherlands interview that Ocampo was, and he said that the difference between CORD and Jubilee was that Jubilee was talking about things that were important to people. They were talking about ICC, they were talking about post-election violence, and CORD was talking about other things. This is a lesson we must learn, that as an opposition, I don't buy that whole argument of tyranny of numbers at all. True. I remember Kanu days, there were 7 guys who were called the 7 bearded sisters who gave Kanu a run for their money. 7 in a parliament that had 210 people. So you don't have, especially when you're in opposition, you don't have to be a majority. You don't even have to convince Jubilee. All you need to do is convince Kenyans outside. If you create a political movement around an issue outside, believe me, Jubilee is not going to pass a law against it. Because if you get Kenyans behind you as an opposition, Kenyans are the majority. If it's about the issue of raising salaries, if I had seen strong ODM MP standing up and saying, no, this money we have is actually more than enough. Do you know how many Kenyans would have been behind ODM?
Yeah.
There's no way Jubilee would have passed that law, even with the tyranny of numbers. If I had seen CORD standing up and saying that this issue of the media is wrong, they would have had media would have made them celebrities. Kenyans would have been completely behind them.
We even moved.
It's always press the problem is that it's usually a press conference here, another one there. There's not that spirited
campaign
that you're going big and
issue
hard
campaign
on an
that
issue.
goes hard and hits.
Yeah.
Because if that happens, what Kenya, I really like the fact that we have Raila, because as I said earlier, power pushes as far as it can push until it is pushed back. What Raila does today as being outside government, and let's also give it to him. Remember, Raila is not a member of parliament. Yes. He's actually he's just a party leader of ODM. But when he says something, he's put on the front page of the newspaper with Uhuru on the other side, President of Kenya. If he wasn't there to challenge when a decision is made, like when the president talked about governors and said they need to respect, they need to be accountable, and Raila said, by the way, we must be careful to manage devolution. He gives a counter voice to the government voice, and we need that, and we need to see ODM doing that between now and 2017. If they do that well, they will win 2017 election. But if we just focus on 2017 election, we're going to lose it. And
we're already seeing a lot of focus going into that. Back to this poll, Asked which of the following regarding Raila Odinga's political future is closest to your view, 36% of 2,031 respondents said Mr. Odinga should remain active in ODM and contest the 2017 election. That is what, 36%. Another 36%, however, said Odinga, who has vied for the presidency but lost on 3 occasions, should retire from politics. 24% said Mr. Odinga should continue to lead or work with ODM but not contest any seat again. The poll, of course, was conducted face-to-face interviews. So we have people split, at least according to this poll, right down the middle in as far as whether he should vie or not vie. Your thoughts, Mheshimiwa?
I think he's still very relevant, and to be fair to him, he should be given chance to run again. And right now he's playing a very important role. And still 2017, you know, the 3, if courts stay together, hopefully we're hoping that. So it's not Raila necessarily must. Kalonzo Musyoka, Wetangula is there.
Right.
But Raila still should be in that, you know, race and, you know, seek from the code, you know, coalition to be given the chance to run for elections. He's still too young and energetic, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. Kenya needs Raila for various reasons. One, the fact that he's a balancing effect to the ruling elite.
Right.
We forget that if we did not have, I do not know whether Kalonzo or Wetangula at this moment in time have the capacity to be able to challenge government the way Raila does. And of course, I mean, he's human, anything could happen, but at this moment in time, he's a primary counter we have to government excesses.
Yeah.
What he says, and remember he's not in government, so what he says tends to be a counter. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you don't necessarily have to agree with him, but you know that he's going to be a counter. You know that if you say something silly as government, Raila is going to wake up and tell you off.
And say something.
You know, and so that, because democracy requires 2 sides. It requires adversarial politics.
Yeah.
If you don't have anybody being able to challenge the other person, you're going to have a problem.
Right.
You're going to have a problem. And I think for Kenya right now, and I don't know whether there's anybody, whether you are TNA or Jubilee or CORD supporter,
Yes.
who would want Raila out of the political scene. Because you know that either side could, I mean, even if CORD had taken over, you'd have wanted Uhuru to continue being relevant. Why? Because he holds the government to account. Now, I think it's in everybody's interests for Raila to continue being politically relevant.
Finally, for the party ODM, it's a big weekend starting tomorrow, Saturday, with the elections, forming that leadership, which is going to be crucial in structuring and you know, creating that way forward for ODM, whether it's 2017 elections, whether it's the agenda and just keeping the government in check, serving Kenyans, and these very key important issues, as we've seen in the front page of the Standard today. For ODM, you've said it's been around for a long time, but that period of time needs to be felt in terms of the work that's being done. What is, in your opinion, lacking and needs to be done to make ODM not only just a party that is strong when it's politics, but it's a party that is strong in Mwananchi? Everyone across the board can say this is our party, can identify with it from fighting for what are the concerns and the needs of the citizenry.
Good. I think first, you know, the elections, what's going to be elections, new people, young, energetic, fresh, independent-minded, coming to office is one thing ODM needs to do, and I think that's going to happen tomorrow. 2, I think the founders of ODM, Raila Odinga, need to give some independence to the party, to leave it, you know. And even sometimes when they're speaking for the party, like last election was rigged, it should be left to the party, you know, members, rather than becoming an individual thing. So there should be some sort of independence leaving the party, you know, to be independently managed. And I just hope the new crop of leadership.
But when you say that, what do you mean? Because he's the party leaders, so how do you separate the two?
But a party leader can hold personal opinion.
Yes,
at the same time he holds party opinion. So if you're an ODM and I just hear Raila speaking in the media saying something and I don't hold the same opinion, is that the party opinion?
It will be difficult for Kenyans to separate the two, but proceed.
Well, that's where we need to get.
And I think that's the problem. But sometimes, because some of us just see in the media and say the party opinion, and I'm in this party. So which party are you talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. And then I think thirdly, the issue of ODM needs to, focus on key issues that are affecting Kenyans, actually, not elections. I agree with you. That's 100%. I'll be more than happy if ODM never wins elections, but something is done about the problem bedeviling our people. Like, in my area, we've never seen tarmac roads right from after Garissa. There's no tarmac road, there's no electricity connection. You cannot even do business. You cannot even set up a factory, or even, people doing transport in the roads. So we better focus on those key issues, social, economic issues affecting Kenya than even losing elections. Winning elections.
Winning elections.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, especially now with the issue that we have devolved governments, and we have, for example, we have counties that are run by called governors who have allocated funds, and as I said, the issue of winning an election now is not as crucial as it used to be in the past, because devolution, we've got devolved governments as well doing the thing. Of course, it would be good if the preferred, you have your preferred party wins, because then you have support all the way from up going down. But I agree with him that cannot be the primary focus of the party, because that decision is made by more people than just members of the party.
Right.
Yeah, the people who decide who is going to be president are not just the members of the party. The whole public gets involved in that conversation. So the party must focus on packaging itself to the point where it is attractive enough. The work you're doing within the party capacities is so good that people say, you know what, let's give these guys a government. If they don't do that, then we are going to have every election coming out, and then we have this argument about saying, oh, that election was rigged. And the other point I'd really like to support him on is this issue of positions being held by certain people and then become party positions. I have been in trouble quite a number of times by going publicly against a position held either even by the Prime Minister or somebody else, and the first thing you're told is that, Ngunjiri is enrolled, or Ngunjiri has left the party, or this has happened. Why? Because I have a position that is different. We must accept that being a member of a party doesn't mean we must all agree on issues. It doesn't stop you from thinking.
Yeah.
I come into the party with my ideas, you come in with yours, we argue about our ideas, and then we create a party position.
Right.
But for as long as we've not discussed the issue, that you just woke up and said, this is a party position, and you never asked us, we're going to have a problem with it.
Okay.
And that's what makes people keep moving, transiting from one party to the other one.
Yeah. As they've tried to seek a place where their voice will be heard.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for being part of our conversation this morning. The ODM elections, a big day for the movement. Tomorrow we'll be watching.
They vote me as deputy treasurer.
Okay, they heard you. Abdullahi Mohamed, MP, Wajir South, Ngunjiri Wambugu, who's a columnist and as well convener of Ukenya, with us this morning. Asanteni sana.